All right, y'all, before you get started, go ahead and click File Duplicate and then File Save. You should notice that it should no longer say this username in your web address if you've done that correctly. So then go ahead and highlight that and then copy and paste it into the Google Doc. This program is similar to the one you already have, but now we've added new design elements, clouds in different sizes, along with the sun and a moon. And right now you might not be able to see the moon. That's because it is hidden behind this grass. So I'll just comment that out. And there you go. Since the grass is drawn later in the code, it appears in front of everything else. In this code along, we're going to make the clouds, the sun, and the moon move. We'll also make the clouds, the sky color, fade over time. And then as a bonus challenge, which means totally optional, just a point of extra credit, you could make the values reset back to their original positions using a mouse click. All right, let's start by making the clouds move. We're going to start with the large cloud here. It's made up of two shapes. If you're not sure what they do, you could always comment them out to see the changes. And we want to make them move side to side. So I want to use this value right here. This is where I'm going to put the variable so I could vary this position. And I'll use the 100 because it's just slightly easier to do math than the 110. So I'll slide up to the top and I'm going to use the keyword let to declare this next thing as a variable. I'm going to call it LG cloud, making that C in capital and starting with lowercase. Now I'm going to give it the value of 100. Which is the starting value of the cloud. Now, the next very, very important thing to do is to use it, right? So if I start making changes to this variable and, putting it at 200, nothing's going to happen because I haven't used it. This cloud is still stuck at 100. So I'm going to do LG cloud. And then since this value is 10 larger for the X value, I'm going to write large cloud or LG cloud plus 10. So now it's time to make the clouds move. To keep things organized, I'm going to scroll down to this comment right here that's talking about moving the clouds at different speeds. The great thing about the draw loop is that it runs over and over again, so we can update the value a little bit each time through the draw loop. So I'm going to type LG cloud because I want to change the value of it, and I'll do that using the equal symbol, which is used to assign a new value. Now what I want to do is I want it to be at its current position, but just plus 1. So I'll go ahead and write that LG cloud and then just plus 1. And so now each time through the draw loop, it's moving a little bit more each time. So what happened here, and if I play it again, LG cloud was 100, and then I've added to it to be 101, and then 102, and then 103. And we could test this. So go ahead and type console.log, and then put in LG cloud, so you could see what's happening down in the console. You can see the numbers going up, and they're going up quite quickly, but it is one at a time. Now, to help this make more sense, this number here, you could do this thing called joining or concatenating, which is when you add a string. So I'd be like, large cloud. So I put that in quotes, right? And then I add the value of the variable. So now like my console makes a bit more sense. Right? I could see what is this value? It's the value of the large cloud. Okay, so this is like a really handy tip because once your code starts doing weird things, you might be confused with all these variables, and this is like a super handy way to debug. So now, what do you think might happen if this number 1 were bigger? What would happen if it were smaller? What do you think would happen if instead of adding 1, I took away 1? And that's an easy way to experiment. If I put a bigger number, it gets faster. Can I do a number smaller than 1? I could do 0.5. So now it's still moving to the right, but moving more slowly. And what happens if I put -1? it moves in the opposite direction. So pause and try this and play with the speeds so you get a grasp on it. Now, if you'd like to get into the honors category, we made this large cloud move together, and that gets you to high pass. But if you want to get honors, you're going to make the small cloud right here that's stuck at 350 move with its own variable, and it should move at a different speed from the larger cloud. So press play when you're ready to continue. All right, slide down and meet me at the sun. So let's create a variable so that we can make the sun move down. We're going to need to make this value change because the second argument is controlling the up and down position or the Y position on the canvas. And right now it's at 50, so the top starts at 0, and then right here would be about 50 pixels down from the top. But we wanted to keep on going past 50, all the way down below the horizon line, which is now at 200. So here we go, heading to the top. I'm just going to say let sun. I don't need to say sun Y because the sun's not going to move in any other way. And I'll give it that value of 50, which is its current starting value anyway. Then remember, you have to slide down in the code. And I need to replace this hard value right here with a variable that can change. So I'm going to type sun. And so it should look the same. Another good way to debug to make sure you did it correctly is just kind of change it up here and make sure everything's working well. And now it's time to increment. So we said that sun's at 50 and we need to move it past 200, so we know we have to add. So I'm going to say sun. I'm going to give it the new value of its current value sun plus 1. And that will move it down. Now, there is a shorter way to write this, and I'm going to show it to you. You could try it. I think this way makes a lot of sense because it's easy to understand what's happening this way. But once you feel comfortable with what's happening, you could always write the shorthand of to add and set itself a new value, adding 1 each time through. And it does the exact same thing. So it's your choice which one you want to use. If the other one makes more sense to you, keep it like that for now until it's really solid in your understanding. The next thing you're going to do, if you'd like to go for honors, is to make the moon, which is stuck down here at 350, you want to make it rise up. And I'm not going to show how to do that. You could use what you see about how sun worked to make the moon work for honors. So pause here if you'd like to try that challenge. All right, the next thing, it's finally time to make the sky fade. So we're using RGB values, and it will be really, really complicated to make it go from a light blue to a dark blue. So we're going to actually switch it to a more familiar mode, and it's called, so you're going to go to the top where draw is, right? After this line of draw, just hit enter so that you're above the background. And we're going to write, not cloud, we're going to write color mode. So by default, color mode is set to RGB, which is mixing light. So like when you mix red and green together, you get yellow, and it's just really weird. We're going to switch it to what you're used to from the art room, which is HSB, which is hue, saturation, brightness. So I'm going to head up to the top right here, and I'm just going to Google, and you could do that with me too, HSB color picker. And I really like this one from CodePen right here. And you could slide this part up and down to give yourself more room if you'd like. So this is the H stands for hue, and it's a color. It goes from 0 all the way to 359, giving you a total of 360 possible options. Then there's saturation. So when there's no saturation, it's like really pastel, but it's fully saturated, you have a bright color. And then there's brightness for the B. So if it's not bright, it's dark and it looks black. But if it's all the way bright, right, you can see that bright color. So what we want to do is find like a kind of blue that could be nice for the background. Maybe here. I like this one. So my values are going to be 205, 100, 100. And you don't have to pick mine. You could find a different blue that you like. So instead of having this string, I'm going to write 205, 100, 100. All right. And then I need to have a variable so that I could change this brightness, because I don't want it to always be 100. I want it to vary, and sometimes it'll go down and become a much darker color. So instead of having 100 for the last one, for the HSB for brightness, I'm going to slide up to the top and make a variable called brightness. And I'll start it at 100 so it's nice and bright. Then I need to use it, because if I change it up here, nothing's happening. It's not getting darker because I haven't used it. So I'll slide down here and I'm going to write my variable name, brightness. I suppose I could have wrote just bright to be shorter. Okay, so it's not changing yet because I need to make it darker. So I'll do that here. And I'll write myself a little comment so I remember what this code's for. Make sky grow darker. So I want to say brightness has the value now of itself brightness, what it's at, which is 100. I'm going to take away 1 and see what that looks like. Oh, that happens very quickly, so I'm going to need to do that a little bit more slowly. So find a number that works well for you, that the sun fades and then it turns night. And I don't think this number's quite it, but play around with that. All right, so for extra credit, remember you can try to make all these variables reset so that if you were to click this canvas, the clouds would go back to their original position, the sky would be a bright blue, and the sun would be up in the sky.